国家主席习近平31号在人民大会堂同哥伦比亚总统杜克举行会谈。习近平强调，中哥要密切高层交往，交流治国理政经验，深化政治互信，增进相互理解、相互支持。中方欢迎各方参与共建“一带一路”，实现两国发展战略对接。杜克表示，习近平主席提出的一带一路倡议对促进世界互联互通和国际合作具有重大意义，各方愿积极参与共建，期待通过两国发展战略对接，更好指引两国未来合作。杜克表示，热烈祝贺中华人民共和国成立70周年，我十分钦佩习近平主席的卓越领导力和重要国际影响力，希望学习中国的治国理政经验。会谈后，两国领导人共同见证了多项双边合作文件的签字仪式。
Mr. President, you are one of the youngest presidents all over the world. What's your feeling?
I consider that my great motivation now, leading a country like Colombia, is to work hard every day to achieve the three principles of our administration. Legality, which is the rule of law, which is to defend the right of every citizen to live in the daily execution of its liberties, and also working hand in hand with entrepreneurship, promoting investment, creativity, innovation, fintech, govtech, trying to bring entrepreneurs to rural areas, and by that expanding economic growth. And legality plus entrepreneurship equals fairness, which is to close the gaps between rich and poor and be able to allow more citizens to have the space and the opportunity for a better and sustainable individual development, and obviously contribute to our society objective of fairness by allowing education, healthcare, housing, irrigation, water and storage to be the key elements of the driver of fairness. So I'd say my driver, my most important daily focus and objective is to achieve Colombia's development combining those three elements: legality plus entrepreneurship equals fairness.
You mentioned you work very hard. Our president, Mr. Xi Jinping, was once asked a question about his feelings as the highest leader of China. He replied, "I shall be selfless for the good of my people." What's your comment?
I think when you lead a country, and any country, you have to work every day giving the best out of you. I have seen the capacity of work of President Xi, and I admire his capacity to work hard every day. And I think that's the same motivation that I have. When you face the opportunity to lead a country, when you face the opportunity to try to make things better, you have to be tireless. You have to work continuous hours, and you always have to keep your soul and your mind in peace and harmony, so that you're always with the clarity to take the right decisions at the right moment. So I'll say I coincide with him in working hard and trying to give the best for our people.
During past 2 days, you have visited Shanghai and Beijing. What are your impressions? New China will mark its 70th birthday. How do you comment on China's development?
Well, I think, as you well mentioned, this is a year of historical celebrations. In February 2020, we're going to celebrate 40 years of the diplomatic relationships between the Republic of Colombia and the Popular Republic of China. And I think my visit to Shanghai and now my visit to Beijing are to reinforce that relationship. Not only looking backwards on how have we emerged in the bilateral relationship, but also look forward for the next 40 years to come. So my visit to Shanghai was an opportunity to tell that we really want to expand more Colombian exports to China.
You just mentioned that the trade ties between China and Colombia are getting stronger. Here I would like to mention Belt and Road Initiative. How do you comment about that?
I think the Belt and Road Initiative is a very interesting initiative that has been a driver of diplomacy during President Xi's term, and many countries in Latin America have approached the Belt and Road Initiative. In our case, what I said is that we're open to have that discussion, but we want to, even in the case of Colombia, try to put this in an umbrella that is the Colombia-China initiative for the next 40 years. It's also having better connectivity. That's why we want to have the direct flight from Shanghai to Bogota, and even from Beijing, now that I visited the new airport. So I consider that we can match both visions, and with that strengthen the diplomatic bilateral relationship.
You are also an influential economist. Some of your books, such as The Future is at the Political Center, have drawn high attention all over the world. Under your leadership, we have seen new economic growth in Colombia. You have been advocating innovation and environmental protection. What role can innovation and environmental protection play in global development?
That's the issue of our time. We must embrace the cause of mitigation and adaptation to climate change. We definitely have to see the environment as a patrimony that we should keep, that we should protect. And in fact, many countries in the world in the last 100 years have industrialized, but they have also produced effects on the environment. So I think now any vision about development has to be consistent and coherent and must go hand in hand with the idea of protecting the environment and being able to adapt and mitigate. So we believe that if we live towards the future, being able to have an economy that is responsible, consistent with protecting the environment, and at the same time trying to put the talent and creativity of the people as an engine of economic transformation, I think we're following the right path to be a higher income country in the years to come. And also being a member of OECD, also having a route so that we can have levels of economic income per capita that are above $30,000 in less than 3 decades.
And how can Colombia and China work together in these new areas?
There are many ways. Actually, we have investment from Chinese corporations in Colombia, but let me just mention two. I mean, in the case of Baidu has now opened the search engine platform so that more Chinese citizens can know about Colombia, can know more about the different regions of our country, and that will also have an impact on tourism. I mean, if we look at the numbers of Chinese visitors to Colombia, we're talking about 15,000 people per year. That's a very low amount considering the willingness of Chinese citizens to search for interesting places in the world. So I think using the Baidu platform to have more exchanges about Colombia can also be a driver of having more tourism, and also it can help Colombian citizens to come more to China and explore not only the culture, but being able to have academic exchanges, so on and so forth. And I also see the possibility on AI and IoT, because we have one of the fourth industrial revolution centers with the World Economic Forum, the first in a Spanish-speaking country. So I believe this is going to be a great motivation for the bilateral relationships. And we have Chinese companies that are working on IoT, Internet of Things in Colombia, apply to mobility and the expansion of fast-speed internet. So yes, I see that's a great opportunity for cooperation.
The next is a very tough question about protectionism. What's your opinion, and how about China?
Well, when we look about, trade, it is very important that trade is always based on a win-win relationship. There are many countries that have trade, but when you start having a negative trade balance, then we have to think humbly on how to make a change so that both countries can really be winners in a trade relationship. So I think nowadays, the commercial and trade diplomacy, I think, can be more efficient than just going to pure protectionism. But it is important to know that there are sectors that require some levels of protection, considering the impact it has on society. But that's part of the essence of trade and economic diplomacy.
What's your view on the development of China-Latin American ties?
I think the ties are important because China is a source of investment. China is a source of innovation and creativity. And also I see Latin America trying to approach China because it's a very important market, and it's a market that can have an impact on the agricultural industry, just to mention one. And in the case of Colombia, I mean, if we get to triple the coffee exports and the banana exports and the avocado exports and the flour exports and the beef exports, if we get to open the market, those things can help us have a better impact on the rural areas that were in the past badly hit by violence and that have faced maybe some high levels of inequality.
To sum up, can you briefly share your understanding about China and the relationship between our two countries?
When I see the opportunities that are open for China and Colombia, I think there's a great future to be embraced. But also when we look about China having an interest in Latin America, we want China to look at Colombia as the place for the startups in technology. We want to see China putting bets on Colombia as the place for the fourth industrial revolution in the region. When we think about China, we also want to see Chinese corporations participating in ports, airports, tertiary roads, different projects that can have a tremendous impact in Colombia. So I think that's something that we have to celebrate. And this 40th anniversary that began with the conversations in 1979 and that formalized in February 1980, well, I think this is the path so that we can build a Colombia-China initiative, thinking on the next 40 years to come.
We know you have a happy family. You have 3 kids. They are very, very lovely. What kind of story will you tell them about China?
I'm telling them a lot of stories about China. Actually, I came with my wife. We had been married for 2 years, and we came in 2005, and we had a great experience. And I called her today, and I spoke with my children, and they were asking me, well, what are things like? And I told my wife that the process that we saw in 2005, which was fascinating, now it's even more fascinating today, looking at the technology, the urban development, the smart cities, the way new technologies are placed in transportation and in different areas, and the way we see entrepreneurship, the way we see the media, the way we see the creative industry. So it's fascinating. And for the kids, I think it's always important to talk about millenary history. But at the same time, I was able to tell them the reforms and what impact did they have on the Chinese population.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.